Jimmy Dura, host of All Things Veterinary, a podcast that connects and unites the animal health community with ideas and innovation, topics to inspire you and energize your day. Hello and welcome to another episode of the All Things Veterinary podcast. Today we are so excited to have Alex Boyd in for a discussion about social media strategies for your veterinary hospital. Alex is the social media manager here at Patterson. Alex, welcome. It's so great to have you in. I thought it would be super fun for you to just tell us about your background and your social media interests and all that.
Well, thank you. First of all, this is a little bit surreal. I feel like I'm fangirling. I definitely listen to all the All Things Veterinary podcast episodes, and so happy to be speaking with you today live and really excited for hopefully a valuable discussion, or at least a fun one.
Thanks for listening. Please like and subscribe. I feel like
Yeah,
I got to
I
say
gotta
that
say it.
now with our social media guru here.
Yeah, well, thanks for the nice intro. I've been with Patterson in a social media capacity for just under 10 years. It'll be 10 years in January, which at a lot of companies, that's probably a big deal, but you regularly run into people at Patterson who have been here for 30, 40, 50 years. So it's not a brag, but it's the longest I've been somewhere. But before that, it's weird to go back before Patterson. I was with an online Halloween costumes retailer. So normally this time of year would be getting into our costume busy season and talking about popular costumes of the year. Yeah, it was kind of the wild, wild west a little bit in social media going back like 14 years ago at this point. And we had a team of digital marketers, but no one really dedicated to social media. And we kind of had this like a calendar, an Excel calendar where it was like, everybody just, we need to put something up on social media, go find a link and put it in there. And so we just can keep up our pages. And I found myself being more and more the person that was putting in all the links. And it was like, we need a better organizational system and we need to think about what our goals are. And it kind of just morphed into a social media position really organically there. And I really found that to be a passion. Getting to really directly interact with customers is awesome. So that, yeah, carried me through to Patterson. And I've been fortunate enough to be doing it for almost a decade here too, the
That's
veterinary
neat.
side.
What a cool start into it. I bet you've got some fun stories and interesting content from Halloween costume days.
Very much so, yeah.
That's fun. So, since in the last 10 years, what's been your role? Is it strictly veterinary? Has it been different parts of the Patterson business or?
Yeah, I actually joined Patterson on the dental side of our business, managing those channels. They were a little bit more established at that time, but still we're looking for a bit of a disruptor, someone who could try to grow our engagement and grow our following more. And I found success and joy in doing that, and then kind of learned about our veterinary side that was a little bit less robust with our following at the time. So it was a really cool opportunity to move over after about I think 3.5 or 4 years on the dental side to the vet side, and grow those channels and get to know our veterinary customers who are so fun and so enthusiastic and just a little bit of a different vibe of interaction there that I've really enjoyed. So been on the veterinary side for about 6 years now.
Excellent. Okay,
Yeah.
so just really quick, what does a day in the life look like for you? And you mentioned different channels and that sort of thing. What all channels would that cover, on the Patterson side of things?
Yeah, good question. Because there are so many channels out there, and we're not everywhere, but we are in a fair amount of places. So, any day for a social media professional starts with lots of coffee, because you have to be able to get your brain synapses firing and write creatively and get ready to engage in a positive, not brain fog way with our customers. We like to start by checking all of our channels, see if there's any messages, any comments on what we've been putting out lately. So we're active on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter/X, on Instagram, and on YouTube as well. We're really trying to grow our YouTube presence. Yeah,
Wow. Yeah, there's so many channels. I mean,
so many channels.
just like a veterinary hospital. I mean,
Exactly.
they would be engaged in all those as well. That's awesome. Well, Thank you for, telling us about your background. That's awesome. And that is also, it's interesting hearing you as a social media professional, if you will. Your day does start. I love it. A little coffee, get some energy, but you start checking,
Yeah,
checking engagement. That's just
exactly.
like a veterinary hospital might want to do each day.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of what we're hopefully going to talk about today, but really making sure to keep the social aspect of social media in mind. You don't want to be just shouting at people in a void. You want to see if your message is resonating, see if it's landing, tweak it so that hopefully it lands more and you reach more eyeballs and ears. And if people are gracious and like your content enough to engage back with you by leaving a comment or sharing or like or anything like that, you definitely want to celebrate that behavior and chat back with them and get to know them and follow their page and start a little social relationship.
A social relationship. I like
Yeah.
that term. Okay, I think you might have alluded to this, and you and I've talked in the past. This topic, like many that we discuss and have going on in veterinary hospitals, it's so big and broad. So
Mhm.
I thought it would be good, for today's discussion to really almost, I don't want to call it a basic or intro, but maybe just even talking about mindset and how you address and view social media and how a clinic might kind of just start, from a mindset to then probably form, more specific strategies there.
Sure. I love that. And yeah, as I'm not a veterinary professional myself, but from doing this for several years, can kind of speak a little bit to some things that we hear as far as maybe challenges or things that veterinary professionals or people that are managing social accounts are thinking of. And it seems like there's just so many inputs in a veterinary day. Do this, do this, do this, do this. Are you behind on that? If you're not doing this, you're behind. So, mindset wise, I hope today that we can really frame things up in a positive way that takes off some of that pressure and helps us remember to have fun with social media. And again, lean into that social aspect of it and thinking about kind of what you're saying mindset, how to frame it up, how to tee it up. Something that I like to think of at least is that you can think of when you're approaching creating an awesome, memorable, successful social media presence in a lot the same way that you would approach hosting an awesome, memorable, successful party.
Love
So
it.
when you're thinking of hosting a party, there's a lot of surprising similarities of hosting people on your social presence. So I guess to kick things off, kind of explain more what I mean by that. Starting off, and this is something that'll be pervasive kind of throughout all of these tips, but most important thing when hosting anywhere is to be genuine to yourself, your vision, your vibe. So a party example would be if you feel like in order to be a good party host, you need to be Martha Stewart, you need to have matching china that's fine sterling silver, cutlery. But in your heart, you're more of you can slay a backyard barbecue with paper plates, but it's going to be delicious. If you try to host in a way that feels a little bit foreign to you, it probably will come off as a little bit odd, a little bit forced, something maybe off a little bit. So I guess the social media version of that would be, maybe you think of LinkedIn as a very businessy, buttoned up channel where you can't use emojis and you have to use formal sentences, no exclamation points or things like that. But if you're the kind of practice that says y'all when people comment, then write y'all in your social media post copy. It should reflect your in-person vibe online too. And the more authentic and transparent you can be, really puts your followers and potential followers at ease and helps them open up and bring their authentic selves to your page or your party as well, and maybe even grow your following that way by they can invite their friends to join your party because they really like what they're seeing.
I love that. It's a great way to show your personality, and that is LinkedIn specifically is a great tool. Possibly not for attracting pet owners, clients per se, but
Mhm.
maybe other veterinary professionals. That, like you said, what a great tip on be yourself. Be genuine. Don't just put your personality out there, and probably everybody in my neck of the woods would say y'all, and that's a great way. someone might see that across the country and like, man, I miss hearing y'all. I need to go find
Yeah.
a clinic in the southeast or wherever.
Yeah. Or when you're reading the post, you can kind of hear how they would say it out loud when in your head. So
Yeah,
that means
great
your
tip.
voice is coming through.
Love it.
The next one, very important for a party, is where you're hosting, so your venue. So I feel like a cool thing that keeps popping up around Minneapolis, where I'm based, is these virtual reality labs, and you basically have to like show your social handles and scan your phone at the door to even get let in. So cool. They have an event space if that's your vibe, host there. But you don't need to be necessarily where's trendy. Going back to our barbecue example, if you would rather have that at your lake house and tell everybody to bring a bottle of wine and a picnic blanket, then it's a lot more important that you as the host are comfortable and in on the vision of the event. So how that extends to social media is you don't need to be where the brand new trendy place is. And in fact, it's probably not a good strategy to do that anyway, because so many platforms just come and go. Some off the top of my head, Vine, a new one is Blue Sky, that's kind of being a Twitter-esque place. There was one that was called Be Real that everyone thought was going to be awesome, and I haven't heard about it in years. So you don't have to be everywhere. Focus on where you feel comfortable, both with navigating the technology of that platform. You know how to post, you know how to use it, you know how to check your inbox, and also where you feel comfortable with kind of the vibe and who's there and how they interact with each other.
That makes a
Also,
lot of sense. I do feel like there is that kind of pressure, or just if this is kind of your task in the clinic per se, like
mhm. Yeah,
you kind of feel like you have to do something, but to your point, just keep it comfortable with, if you are comfortable with Facebook or
yep.
Instagram or whatever, like don't feel the need to do every new platform. That's a great tip.
Yeah. You want to also maybe think of where your current customers are, like what are they using when they're in the waiting room on their phones, or where your target customers are. If you're in like an up and coming younger business professional area of town, you just open there. Maybe Instagram will be more valuable for you because of the demographic of people using that platform. So yeah, more about being where you perceive value than what you're hearing about buzzing and trending and where you need to be, because nobody knows where you need to be more than you do.
Love it.
Okay, this one's kind of fun. Being welcoming to everyone is really important. It seems pretty straightforward, but if your goal is to have an awesome party that is memorable for the right reasons, you want to be not catering to one or two besties. It wouldn't be just as diverse or successful or as interesting of a party it would be if you were open to inviting a larger community or having other attendees that you haven't met yet join you. So, how that translates to social, you want to be sure to be welcoming to everyone, whether or not they are a current customer. You want to make sure to curate a positive space where, like we talked about before, if people take the time to engage with you, you want to engage back. Like if they post a picture of their pet and say they had a great visit with you, that's exactly the kind of stuff we're looking to encourage and make people feel welcome to share. So, liking that back, even sharing that back on your own channels would be great. And then an interesting, hopefully, thing I wanted to chat with you more about. I think in a real party and in social media, unfortunately, a hater or two is probably an inevitability. We've all probably had the misfortune of having a hater on our social media pages. And it might feel like your instinct to just kind of ignore them and they'll go away. But on social media, at least, it is best practice to address when you have a negative comment come through rather than deleting it or hiding it. And one of the reasons why is because social media is kind of a spectator sport. So even if your audience is very supportive of you, if they see a negative comment on your page, they're kind of like popping the popcorn, seeing like, ooh, how is the veterinary clinic going to reply to that? What are they going to say? How are they going to address this? So it's really an opportunity to show how professional and positive and welcoming to feedback you are. And a lot of times those haters really just want to vent and they aren't even expecting a reply. So if you take the time to reply in a professional way and really hear them out and try to get to the root of their issue and make it right, you can actually turn haters into fans and brand advocates for you.
Man, you said it best, Alex. Haters gonna hate. There's just people want to do it, and it's unfortunate. It's the one or two out of 100. Uh,
Exactly.
and so you're suggesting take the high road and
Hmm.
keep it professional. Let me ask you, do you recommend if somebody posts, if they get specific, what if
Yeah.
their hate is pointed towards a specific instance, maybe in a veterinary hospital, would you recommend a clinic, while taking the high road, address that directly in those comments? Like, we had to wait forever at
Yeah.
Main Street Animal Hospital. It was horrible, and we waited for an hour. Would you recommend go specific when addressing and or do you keep
Yeah.
it vague?
I feel like a good strategy to show your audience that you responded, but not necessarily get into all those nitpicky details on your public page, is if you respond once publicly, but your call to action at the end is like, if you could send us a direct message and we can chat about this further, or we'll have someone reach out to you directly over phone when it's convenient for you. And you kind of move that conversation off of the public space and resolve it more in private. And that seems to work well. It's checking all the boxes of actually getting to the bottom of it in a way that works for the person that maybe had a negative experience, but also showing publicly that you are trying in earnest to make it right.
That's great advice. Thank
That
you.
makes
And
sense.
you totally nailed it on the spectator sport. When if I'm looking to purchase a product, for example, and I'm looking at reviews and I see a negative review, and then I do enjoy when the owner or the company responds. And if it sounds professional and reasonable, it's like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And no product, no service, no business is perfect. So it is kind of I think a good opportunity to show your real, your real personality and apologize, or it's a good opportunity if addressed properly is kind of what you're saying. Yeah,
Yeah, that's such a good example. I do the same thing. It just, like you said, if nothing's going to be perfect and a problem might be inevitable at some point, whether big or small, it's nice to see that that brand, if it happens to you, will take the time to speak with you as well. And nothing's worse than a canned response either. So
good
you can
point.
have kind of a framework for replying, but definitely it would behoove you to be specific to the customer and empathetic and just bring that authenticity, like you said.
Great point. I don't want to see a thank you for your interest in ABC. Period. It's
Yes,
like I want
yes,
to see
yes.
how are you going to handle that? Yeah,
Exactly. We're sorry it didn't meet your expectations.
awesome.
Yeah, okay. I feel like you kind of led to this one with what you were just saying before, but this one, the next point is don't be afraid to take the floor and tell a story, even if the story can get a little bit lengthy. So I feel like the narrative we hear a lot is people's attention spans are shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, and you better be brief or you're going to lose everyone. And that can be an effective strategy, particularly maybe on Twitter, where it's like fast, fast, short characters. But if you have a story to tell and it's something that's meaningful to you, take the floor. And those kinds of storytelling posts are often longer than a typical post that you would see, but they really serve to invite your audience in and they get to experience your authenticity, a word we keep saying a lot. But some examples that come to mind would be share the story of what brought you into the veterinary profession, what makes you passionate, share your care philosophy. Why are you passionate about alternative therapies? What sorts of tools and equipment did you bring into your practice to help make that happen? And then a good one any day of the week would be to share stories and gush about your team and how great they are and how helpful they are to your customers. So a lot of potential content there can turn into a good story.
I love those tips. I feel like today, especially if I get to see maybe like you said, a long form or more
Mhm.
insight into some personable things from my veterinarian, technician. I feel like there's a big void in a lot of businesses today that are don't have that opportunity for whatever reason. And so
Mhm.
it feels what a great that is a great tip to like give them some of your personality, give them some of your heart, give them some of your why. And because it's social media, is it fair to say too, Alex, this is a potentially a platform where you can be a little more laid back and informal and not feel like you have to be buttoned up and
Totally
yeah.
perfectly polished. Yeah, I
Yeah.
I think too, as you were speaking, it reminded me, it doesn't have to be positive all the time either, which sounds maybe counterintuitive. Like, why would I want to share something on our page that isn't positive? But I think in veterinary medicine in particular, it can be, there's a lot of topics that come up that are really emotional, having to euthanize animals sometimes, or
Yeah. Oh gosh.
compassion fatigue. Like, if those things are important and they happen and they affected your day, get raw and you can share that sort of thing too. And that really invites people in as well.
That's a good point. Sorry to interrupt you. You made me think of this an example I had in one of my clinics, a clinic I've known for many years. This was over a decade ago. I'll never forget it. I was in the hospital and talking with the practice manager, who is an owner, his husband wife team. Husband's the vet, wife was the practice manager, and we got to chatting and we're talking about social media. She said, "Listen to this," and she pulled up this video where her husband had unfortunately just had to euthanize a longtime client's pet they saw for puppy vaccines all the way through, and the whole family's involved. She just took a minute to say, "How you doing, doc?" And she videoed him talking, and he got emotional, and it was a pure moment. It wasn't staged, and it just
Yeah.
and she decided to share that because to your point, I think it's a good opportunity. A lot of tough days happen, and just there's some challenges and just things that veterinary clinics are dealing with, and to be able to show some of that to give the pet owner insight into, man,
Yeah.
I never thought about that, or that particular that clip that they posted. I don't even remember the platform, but she said it went viral. I don't know what that
Mm.
meant in terms of likes or shares or whatever, but it was a huge engagement, and he just was sharing his heart, and to your point, it wasn't a rah-rah moment, it was a
Yep.
tough moment
Yep.
that he shared.
Yeah. What a great example. And obviously memorable enough to stick with you after all this time
Yeah.
too. So just, yeah, shows what we're talking about.
The All Things Veterinary podcast is sponsored by Patterson Veterinary, supplier of products, equipment, software, services, and essentials for your practice. Patterson goes the extra mile to make sure you get what you need quickly, develops ways to help your practice run a little better, and backs it all with legendary customer service. Find all things veterinary at pattersonvet.com.
I guess that kind of leads into too, mentioning videos so much. The next one is take photos, take videos. I think, what are the kids saying? Pics or it didn't happen.
Oh, is that what
So
the kids say?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. You know
All
more than
right.
I
I'm going
do.
to start using that. Pics
Pics
or
or
it
it didn't
didn't happen.
happen.
All right.
Um,
Love it.
so obviously, if you're planning a party, you want to secure your photographer, your videographer, because you want to be able to share not just for yourself, looking back at memorable moments, but share with your guests, share with people who maybe couldn't make your event. So same goes for social, and actually probably even more so because some of the platforms you can't even post if you don't have a graphic to share along with it. Like Instagram, for example, it's table stakes to have a photo. So
Good
yeah,
point.
social media is very, very visual. So anytime you can use a photo or multiple photos, it just helps you tell a richer story that's more engaging to your audience. And I guess to be clear, not like a wedding, I'm not saying by any means that you need a professional photographer or a professional videographer. iPhone photos and videos work great on social media, especially in portrait mode, which I feel like most people have at this point. So as long as you keep best practices in mind, make sure everything's in focus, your lighting's decent, people are smiling. Like, candid photos are great as long as they're flattering.
Good
So
call. Can I sound really old and toss this out?
sure.
Was my middle daughter has a YouTube channel, and we were
Ooh.
we were longboarding last night, and I was like, all right, as long as it's not too dangerous, let's get a little video. And she said, "Dad, go. You gotta go. You got a video in .5 mode." Point five seems to be the mode a lot that the kids like to be in. Just gonna that's another pro tip. Gonna toss that out, Alex. Man, I sound old.
Great tip of the day. So are you like slow-mo?
No,
Is that what we're saying?
this was long mo, and yeah. Uh,
Okay.
can I just say too, man, I swear our clinics, I would love to see more video. I feel like just
Yeah.
video, just simple stuff, hospital tour. You mentioned this
Yes,
or on a tip earlier, a shout out or a hug to a staff member about some awesome thing they did, but I don't see a ton of video. And maybe, okay, here's a point of differentiation. Posting it, adding it to your website is different than posting it on Instagram. And
definitely.
you can obviously link to Instagram from your website, your clinic's page, but there's two different things. You know, it's not like you got to post these videos on your website. They can just be a feed kind of thing, right?
Yeah. I feel like I actually just saw a really, really good example from a vet clinic recently where, if you're going to have the get to know our team tab on the website, which I love when looking at veterinary clinics, they have a nice like lifestyle photo and more of a traditional bio, but then how that might look to get to invite people to get to know your techs or your team members on Instagram, for example. If you just hold up your iPhone and do more of a video style, like how long have you been here? What do you do when you clock out for the day? How many pets do you have? So that's like a super quick, easy win. And they do that for all of their employees, just a little get to know you video. So simple win right there and does the same thing, just fitting the platform appropriately.
Great call. Can I mention something too? I don't want to put you on the spot, but I had this come up in a clinic this week literally, and it no, sorry, it was last week. It was one of my vet buddies talked about one of his vet school buddies that just got a cease and desist from a company. He posted a picture that he found online and he posted that to one of his socials and ended up getting a cease and desist from the company
Interesting.
that owned the intellectual property, I guess, or
Yeah, yeah.
the trademark for the picture. I mean, it seems that that's kind of crazy, but I guess now with AI and other ways to monitor,
Mhm.
are you seeing that more, or do you have a way to hedge against that, I guess?
That's such a good question. And yeah, that's definitely something you should avoid is worse if
Right.
you're saying, well, we need a picture, we need a picture. Well, we don't have one. Let's just Google it and grab one. That can be a dangerous game to play when it comes to owing legal fees for intellectual property. So I feel like veterinary clinics are such rich places to get your own photography. Again, just with an iPhone, like no one else, including AI, can copy what you have going on in your space. So
Good point.
your cute puppies, your exam rooms, your equipment, your team, anything like that, your huddle space, your backyard where you guys all chill out and take a break together. All those things are things that you own. And there's a lot of content opportunities just to take your own photos and avoid that risk altogether.
That's a great point. Do you, along these lines and posting photos, do we have to get permission? I don't know. I don't really know the legalities. I would know the formalities or the just
Yeah.
engagement with the client to post like where are there
Yeah.
legal ramifications? Do you recommending always getting client permission for them?
Yeah, I think to be safe, if someone posts a picture at your clinic and tags you, best practice, just really quick to be like, oh my gosh, thanks so much for sharing. Do we have permission to share this on our own page? And then if the person comments, yes, that's permission. And same thing if you're taking pictures in the clinic, you snap a cute photo of someone, checking in at the front desk and their puppy just happened to look at the camera. Just chat with that person, like, hey, this would be such great content for our social media. We'd love to feature it. Is that okay with you? And just that verbal yes is all you need. I don't think you're required to have any sort of
Mm.
written, very, very formal document. And I think a lot of times people will be flattered that you ask. And more dogs these days have social media pages than ever before. So maybe they'll even want you to tag their pet on social media and you can
Great point.
grow your audience that way.
Excellent.
Okay, we are almost done. We're almost through the list. So one other tip would be kind of straightforward, but make sure there's stuff going on at your party so that there's a reason for people to come back if you're going to host another one in the future. So, if you get to the party and like the refreshments have been sitting out for a really long time, is maybe an old water cooler, there's no music playing, why would people want to come back to that space next time? So, same for social media. You don't need to be posting every day or multiple times a day, but it is important to keep your feed fresh. You want to keep an active presence. So if people visit your page, the same post isn't stuck at the top that they saw 2 weeks ago. And maybe a helpful way to think about it is different types of posts that can keep people either informed or interested or intrigued. So informed being things like, hey, our office hours are going to be different than usual, or we're going to be closed for an offsite team building event on such and such a day. That housekeeping kind of stuff that's important. Interested would be more like those. It's Hug a Pug Day or Vet Tech Appreciation Week, seasonal event type graphics, or it's hot outside. Here's how hot your dog's paws can get when it's 80 degrees outside. So, infotainment kind of. And then I would say intrigued is more of those storytelling posts like we talked about, or like you mentioned, like a behind the scenes video tour, maybe of spaces in the office where your clients can't go. Maybe you'll put them more at ease to see a little video of that, or hey, ask us what we learned at our continuing education event last week. And then that's a good way to get engagement. So different types of goals for different types of posts.
Man, I love that last tip. Ask us what we learned at our CE event last week. I know, I mean, that's really easy, fresh, and potentially a great way to share a new, new technology or piece of equipment or service you're providing. I love that. Okay, you said a word and you said a bunch of words, a bunch of really great words. And one of them I wrote down was fresh. Man, you're
Mhm.
right. I mean, there's got to be a fine line with clutter and noise.
Yeah.
And okay, here's a couple questions inside a big question. Does your email communication, this is probably a dumb question, Alex. Don't laugh, but does your email communication potentially cross over into the social media perception of the pet owner? If it's a newsletter or your online pharmacy's running a special because it's Labor Day weekend or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Or it kind of falls in the bucket of promotional noise that other companies
Yeah.
push out.
Yeah.
What's too much? And I like you said, don't leave something unposted maybe for 2 weeks. That does feel like it's not fresh, but
Yeah.
you draw those lines.
Yeah, I guess the exception to that being, I know a lot of social platforms now do let you pin content to the top so that when people come to your page, you can choose a piece of content that you want to stay there. But that is an intentional thing, not like, oh, we just didn't
Mm.
have time to post. That's like an important piece of content that you want to make sure any new visitor to your page sees. Um, I guess I think it's another maybe parallel between being social in real life is being social online. If you don't have anything of substance to say, maybe don't say anything. If you
You're a really
have,
polite person, the way you're saying these things, Alex. That I can see why you have this role. Yeah. Yeah, don't post just to post.
yeah, if you feel like you need to tick the box, I mean,
Hmm.
that's great, but there's probably chances are there's something valuable you can say. I feel like so many great vet pages use their platforms for education and like, did you know this is how we do a ear cleaning, for example, a dog that has a yeast infection in their ear, which is what my dog currently has. And whether you're a current customer or you're trying to figure out what's going on with your dog, you haven't made an appointment yet, that's a cool opportunity to see your clinic or a potential clinic that you're thinking about becoming a customer of as the expert. And I feel like that would get me to follow a clinic if they answered a question that I had about my pet or showed me something I didn't know how it works and why they're the experts in being able to solve that issue.
For sure. And don't you think it's fair to say, when a potential new client or a pet owner with an issue is looking for a clinic, their first stop, their first encounter with that business might be their Facebook page or
Yeah,
Instagram. Like they may not want to jump on your website and read about you. They might just want to get your vibe. And if you haven't posted something in a couple months or whatever the thing. I've seen that with businesses. I'm like, is this business open? And
exactly.
then it's like I might just move on. Uh,
Yeah. Another housekeeping thing along these exact lines. I know a lot of clinics at the bottom, maybe like the bottom right, they have the little social icons so that people can go from the website to social if that's their journey. And sometimes those links are broken, or maybe it's a platform that you used to be active on. You used to have like a great Twitter and you just kind of are focusing more on Facebook and Instagram now. Just make sure that those are up to date and you're putting your best platforms forward, since, like you said, your social media might be a customer's first or second touch point. So you want to show off your fresh, authentic self there,
Great
not a
point.
broken link.
That's good housekeeping, like you said. And you made me think of something else where I feel like clinics, sometimes it does feel like I think you started the conversation with like you're shouting into the abyss, maybe, but
Yeah.
I feel like today more than ever, pet owners with their engagement and what they want for their pet, they are willing to drive. If you're offering a unique personality, a unique service, or just maybe you shouted uh, more about yourself than anyone in their area, people are going to drive to take
Mhm.
care of their baby. And so it may not be something that happens every day or once a week, but maybe some of our best clients they are engaged, they want to get to know you, and they might emerge into that top 20 client list because they're that into taking care of their pet. And I feel like sometimes it does feel like LinkedIn is a great example. It's like it has a local component, but it also is very much international. And so some clinics may feel like that's not necessarily a great place to spend a ton of time, but people want to relocate, for a job, or, maybe they're willing to travel to take care of their pet. I don't know. So,
Yeah. No, that's a great point. And yeah, if you think, oh, that might be not reaching my target audience, if it's good content and it ends up kind of going viral, like you said, then maybe people who share it, your clients are people who are friends with them. Like it's all about that networking aspect too. So you never know who's going to see what you're putting out. If you
right.
feel passionate about putting it out there, it's going to resonate with someone and eventually find its way to your social tribe or your customers.
Well, good point. And on the going viral or a popular post note, all of this, all this content is potentially feeding the machine that could result in your searchability on the
Mhm.
internet locally, correct?
Correct. And it didn't used to be like that back in, I don't know what the day, how many years ago that is, but absolutely. I'm sure you can think of things that you personally search and a YouTube video ranks first. That never used to be the case. So, what a cool opportunity if you can be the answer to someone's query with a social media post or a YouTube video or whatever the case may be. Yeah, that's all searchable and that's a unique position to be in.
Very cool. Do you have any more tips for us, Alex?
Yeah, I think kind of winding it down, the last one is just to remember to be gracious to your guests and thank everyone for attending and engaging with your, whether it's the event, the party, it wouldn't have been a party without them. Make sure they feel appreciated for coming and engaging with your party and social media. I just had it written down that you'd be shouting into a digital void if it weren't for your social media audience and your followers. And if you're wondering how do I thank them if they're not in person? What does that mean in the social media space? There's a lot of different opportunities you can take to say thank you. So when you hit a particular follower or fan growth milestone, thanks for following along in our journey and helping us get to 2,000 followers. There's plenty of events like Customer Appreciation Day, Customer Appreciation Week to give a shout out. You can also thank them, like we said before, by reposting their own pictures if they check in at your clinic or tag you in one of their pieces of content. It's flattering to share that back out to your audience. Thank new customers for joining your practice. Thank customers who have been with you since the beginning. And yeah, I guess like a last thing would be a memorable party for me usually has a little favor, a little take home. So something that might look like on social media would be you could offer a percentage off of a grooming service or a shampoo or something if people like your page on Facebook or Instagram. So just connecting that in-person social experience back to their experience on social media.
I love that. And I love you just rattled off. I was trying to make a list. You just rattled off great, little content examples that they could do. Like welcome to our new client. Like the
Yep.
content, the authentic, quick, easy content is pretty abundantly available every day in a clinic, and maybe just thinking that way, looking that way. And do you recommend the social media game as a team sport, or is it best with the team captain leading that effort?
What a great question. I don't feel like there's any hard and fast rule. Like, what if it's working for your practice to have many people kind of tag teaming in the posts? Awesome. That kind of reminds me of my Halloween costumes company role
Mhm.
where that was not working for us. And because everyone has a different writing style, if we were all putting in our post copy, it just felt disjointed because everyone has a different way of sharing even the same message. So it might be more beneficial to have a captain for sure that's making sure that your brand, your voice, your tone, even like a filter that you use or don't use on your photos is just consistent. So it all looks like you are a united voice on your pages.
That makes a lot of sense. I totally agree with that. Okay, those were phenomenal tips, Alex. Thank you. A lot of great content here and just takeaways. And through those, I did want to ask you a couple more questions if you're
Sure.
okay with that before we kind of head out. And I guess one of them is what could be well, if the party analogy still fits, what could be potentially awkward, okay? Inviting people to your party. Would you recommend being direct in the invitations to follow a clinic socials, or what's a good way to invite those potential party goers, if you will?
That's awesome. Well, I think one thing we chatted about before would be just by creating good social content, you will organically grow your following and reach more eyeballs. And if some person in your community found your content valuable, they might want to share it with a friend, like, hey, check out what this clinic's doing. They have this awesome new piece of equipment and can do this therapy I know your dog needs. So word of mouth that way, but for sure, keeping up the metaphor, I love a paper invitation to a party. It makes it feel a little special. So if there is a physical opportunity in your office to have like a note card with a QR code or something like that, or a sign on your front desk that says follow us on social, absolutely. The more places you can reach more people, the better, especially if you're proud of what you're creating on social media. You want people to come and see all the thought you put into hosting.
Those are great tips. I like the party analogy. It still fits. If you're not excited about your party and you're not putting a lot of effort in the party, you may not want. I mean, you may not want to advertise it so much. But if you're intentional and doing all these fun things, yeah, let's put up codes. Let's be proactive and reach out. Maybe some signage in exam rooms and invite them. But I love your content first idea. If you're People will find your party. People will hear
Exactly.
the noise of the excitement.
Yeah, noise in a good way in this case, not like
Exactly. Yeah,
typical
yeah, the
digital
good
noise.
kind.
Yeah, party
The good kind.
poppers.
All right, you touched on this to begin, but I want to bring it up. If I'm a clinic, let's say I'm starting a new practice, or let's say I'm a I don't know how old my practice is, but where should I start if maybe I wanted to start fresh? Or I mean, is it possible for you to narrow down a couple of platforms just to get going? Or you did touch on this, but like on the keep it simple mindset? What do you think?
Yeah, I think like there are some general rules, and maybe we can find a resource to link to of like what the audience demographics tend to be like on average of each of the different social platforms. So maybe that's a good place to start. It might be a different answer if you are like downtown Chicago in a glitzy glamour space versus like a quiet beach practice where there tends to be people that go to retire. They might be using different social accounts. So if those are the people that you're trying to reach, that would be something to keep in mind. I would say Facebook, even though it's been around a long time, it's good that it's been around a long time, and most people still have a Facebook account. That one is safe and approachable and effective and easy to navigate since we all have it too. So I feel like that would be, if you only have one, a good place to start. And also, since it's owned by the same company as Instagram, if you don't have a lot of resources, you can kind of just share the same thing you're sharing on one to the other. Ideally, if you have a couple more minutes to tailor your content per platform, great. But if you don't, just getting the word out there is important to you. Then you can kind of just repost what you put on one to the other with a click of a button.
Okay, Alex, before we wrap up, I have to take a selfie that I will post for our socials. Yes, for this discussion and try and be better as well and encourage all of our clinics to be better on their social media channels and platforms. So, Alex,
Anybody hearing this episode, maybe just this is your little angel on the shoulder reminder to post today, take a little team selfie and get it up on your page. And there's your content of the day.
love it. You are awesome. And thank you so much for sharing all your experience and your tips. What a great job. And just a lot of meat and potatoes in here for our clinics to go back and use. So, thank you, Alex.
I hope so. Thanks so much, Jimmy.
Thank you for listening. Join us for more ideas and inspiration on the next All Things Veterinary podcast.